What's going on, everybody? Rockets Daily brought to you by FanArch. My name is David Delano. Thanks so much for watching another episode here early August, diving into all things Houston Rockets, and all comments are appreciated. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel. That way you're notified anytime something is dropped. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of the depth on this roster. We're going to get into some possible contract flexibility later on in the season. We're going to continue our Rockets history, but first, we're going to go ahead and talk about Reed Shepard, who there's an article, according to ESPN, about the most intriguing sophomores to watch out for going into this season. And Reed Shepard was highlighted as the number one sophomore to watch for. So this article on ESPN basically states, and those who follow the Rockets know this, averaging 12.6 minutes per game in his rookie season and just 3.3 in the postseason. There wasn't a real role for Reed Shepard as a rookie, despite coming in as the number 3 overall pick. And then the article states that's expected to change in year 2. And as we go ahead and look into that, it's expected to change in year 2, potentially setting up the biggest leap of all sophomores going into the 2025-26 season. He should make the most of his extended time on the floor. So we're going to see what happens with Reed Shepard. And Reed Shepard, someone that we're going to continue to talk about. Rockets fans are going to continue to think about him until we start to see what's going on in the season. For those of you who first time on the program, thanks so much and welcome. If you've been a frequent visitor, or if you go back and watch some of the previous episodes, one belief that I have and one belief that a lot of you guys have, one of the biggest concerns for me right now, and you got to nitpick the team a little bit because we're talking about trying to win a championship. We're talking about trying to overcome the Oklahoma City Thunder. Denver Nuggets are right there. Got to get out of the West before we can really start to think about the teams in the East too much. But one of the concerns that I have is the guard depth. Fred VanVleet played very well in the playoffs. There were some times during the regular season it was a little shaky. I thought it might be his last season in H-Town. But provided that leadership, stepped up against the Golden State Warriors despite losing in that series. But another year older, still a small guard. You wonder, missed 20 games last year. What's Fred going to have this season? He had some regression in some of his metrics. Obviously with Kevin Durant, it looks like Fred's been working out. Of course he's been working out, but, I've been seeing some videos of it. We're optimistic on Fred for next season, but we're going to need some depth behind him. Aaron Holiday's there. But a lot of it, respect to Aaron Holiday. I like Aaron Holiday, but a lot is really going to be depending on what Reed Shepard to make better decisions with the ball. Want him to keep his composure. Don't want to see him really complaining a lot to the officials to the point where it affects his game. I know guys are going to be frustrated, but sometimes it can affect your game. And we saw that even in a small summer league sample at times. The shooting, a little bit erratic at times. We'll see. Reed's still young, just 1 year. But obviously, if Reed's not there, if Reed is not able to take that step, that definitely affects the team. Had a great comment, and I think we're going to dive into it on Wednesday's episode tomorrow. We're going to look at some potential options in case, we're going to look at glass half full sometimes. We're going to look at glass half empty. If Reed is not ready to take that step up, some potential other guard options. So I think it's interesting. With Reed being number 1 listed sophomore to watch for, that comes with a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. Not a rebuilding situation anymore. So if Reed struggles, we'll see where the patience is. NBA Cup, be in that same bracket, in that same group with the Denver Nuggets. We're going to see, and the Golden State Warriors, I believe. We're going to find out some things at least early on in the season. And as we kind of move along here too, if the Rockets later on have to make some trades during the season, have to make some trades, during the deadline, And we're jumping ahead. It's going to be February 2026 when we get to the trade deadline. But, you got to think ahead, GMs, front office, and definitely have some flexibility with Jeff Green's contract. Jeff Green, he re-signed with Houston in the offseason for the third consecutive year, a 1-year, $3.63 million deal. Now, one thing that we didn't talk about too much, and we'll see, this could be something that means something later on, maybe it won't, but Green did waive his rights to block trades in this deal with normally guys with the type of contract that he has this deep into the season usually have that flexibility, but he waived those rights. So basically that means that the Rockets can move Jeff Green at any time and increase their salary flexibility. And obviously, Jeff Green provides some veteran leadership. I like Jeff Green, been around for a while with a lot of winning organizations. So I'm not saying I don't want us to get rid of Jeff Green. I'm not. But, that option is, is potentially available if the Rockets need that roster spot for someone that feel like can make a bigger contribution. Now, this makes you want to ask, this season, will Jeff Green play a bigger role on the court? Or is he really just going to be more of a locker room leader? And I think right now it's kind of clear to say that Jeff Green's main role is really being a stabilizing force in that locker room. We talk about Kevin Durant, his leadership ability, his desire to be a leader vocally. And a lot of people say Kevin Durant doesn't really need to be a leader vocally. Kevin Durant just needs to be KD, get buckets, do what he's done his whole career. But you still need guys who are veterans, who've been around, been in a lot of different organizations, can be coaches, kind of do that coaching role, that player coach role. And that's something that Jeff Green is. That's really his role on this team. Wouldn't have brought him back if they didn't see him as an important part of this organization. Obviously, Jeff Green can give some solid minutes on the court, but if we're depending on Jeff Green too much on the court, other than a couple games and a few spots, it's going to be a sign that probably something is not going in the right direction, or that there's some injury. So more of a stabilizing presence, but we'll see. Do you think Jeff Green will be on this roster at the end of next season to bring a title to H-Town? It would be nice to see Jeff Green be a part of that, of course. And then another big free agent signing, of course, was the addition of Dorian Finney-Smith coming over from the Los Angeles Lakers. And there's some flexibility in this contract as well. And the big thing with Dorian's contract, he signed a 4-year, $53 million deal, but one thing that's, it's been reported out there, I don't think I've really talked about it a lot on this program particularly, is that only the first 2 years of that contract are guaranteed. The third and fourth years are non-guaranteed. And that fourth year also comes with a player option. So really, this is something that it could be a good long-term or short-term move, but really the Rockets locked in, I think, those first 2 years for $25 million for Dorian Finney-Smith. So not a bad deal on the part of Houston. Definitely when you're looking at running this thing back for a long time, this Dorian Finney-Smith contract, not something that's going to hinder the Rockets' long-term flexibility. Now, for those of you guys who like the Rockets' history, and that's one thing I want to talk about, especially in this off-season, pay homage to the teams before. We're going to talk about the Rockets' 82-83 season. If you go back a couple episodes, the episode that I dropped on Friday, the 1980, you talk about that 1980-81 season, one of the best in Rockets history. Despite that 40-42 record, went all the way to the NBA Finals. Only team to go to the NBA Finals with a losing regular season record, excluding the years when there were only 8 teams in the NBA, all right? The Rockets lost to the Celtics that year in 6 games in the NBA Finals. Moses Malone, outstanding year. It was a fun year. I'm going back and watching. I'm going to say rewatching. I'm watching it for the first time, honestly. That 1980-81 Finals. Watched game 1 so far. I'm going to watch the other 5 games. But we talked about yesterday. We talked about the 81-82 season. Rockets went 46-36. Now, the The 82-83 season was really the worst season in Rockets franchise history. So 2 years away from going to the NBA Finals and coming off of a playoff season, a winning season, Rockets went all the way down to 14-68. Philadelphia 76ers offered Moses Malone a contract in the range of about 6 years, $13 million. Rockets didn't feel like giving Moses Malone about $2 million a year was in the plans. Did a sign and trade, sent him over to the Philadelphia 76ers, who ended up winning the NBA championship that year. So really, when you look at deals, and yesterday we did flowers for Moses Malone. This 83 season often gets forgotten, but it's, man, when you talk about Rockets history's maybe worst move in Rockets history, Moses Malone going away. The Rockets go 14-68. To this day, that's the worst season in Rockets franchise history. Moses Malone wins a MVP and a world championship that very, very first year with the 76ers. So it was a tough year there. Did that particular season, as far as Ralph Sampson was drafted number 1 overall, setting up down the line the future of the Twin Towers era, as we're going to be getting into that pretty soon. But losing Moses Malone, that's basically what that's going to be remembered as, and the Rockets just taking a huge step down. This was actually also the last season for Calvin Murphy's Hall of Fame career with the Houston Rockets. Last season at 34 years old, didn't go out on a high note as far as with the team, but still, for last season of his career, averaged a 12.8 points per game. He did, and still shot 92% from the free throw line. Leading the team in scoring that season was Allen Lavelle with 14.8 points per game. James Bailey, 14.1 points per game. Elvin Hayes now, later on in his career, still 37 years old, came back to Houston at the end there, 12.9 points per game, and also led second on the team with 7.6 rebounds. But very, very terrible season overall for the Rockets, 82-83. Thanks so much for watching. Tomorrow we are going to look at some, as we talked about with Jeff Green, some possible salary cap flexibility. You're going to look ahead a little bit. We're going to talk about, because you never know, Rockets can make some moves. Not saying it's going to happen before the season, but we are going to talk about, there's some guards still available. And there's some guards that will be available mid-season. So we're going to talk about some of those potential options. Thanks so much for those comments. As far as backup options for Reed Shepard, because it's win now mode. And also, just feel free to keep those comments coming. We're going to be diving into those, and your comment may turn into our next topic. I'm David Delano. This has been Rockets Daily. Be safe out there. Let's have a great day.